Your designation in the company is that of a strategic program manager. What exactly is this role?
I've done everything from sales to inventory management to setting up new verticals, our website, our social media presence. Because we are a very small-scale enterprise, there isn't a core function as such.
You are someone who's a jack of all trades but a master of none?
But master of none is still better than a master of one.
Okay, what's the difference between R-square and adjusted R-square?
I'm not particularly sure about the entire depth of it.
Are you aware of curse of dimensionality?
I'm not really sure about that, sir.
If I have to identify a reason why I should not select you, I would have chosen the statistical depth.
Yeah, sure. Hi. Hi, welcome.
Good morning, sir.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Lakshya. I did my graduation in statistics in 2023 from St. Xavier's College, Mumbai, after schooling from Bombay Scottish Mahim. In both environments filled with high-performing peers, I took extracurricular activities very seriously and rose to the most coveted student positions, and was also given the Student of the Year award at both institutions. Post my graduation, I directly began working with my family business. We specialize in interior decor of brass and metal items. It's been about 30 years that they've been in B2B, but I was sort of responsible for the D2C transition and moving from sort of manual processes to more structured inventory management systems, barcoding, billing. We are setting up a CRM system right now, and so on and so forth. Other than my work experience, public speaking has been a long-standing thread in my life. I moved to Mumbai from a Hindi-speaking background in Rajasthan, and when it was a big cultural shock, and I struggled, I felt very alienated at the beginning. So then I moved to public speaking to sort of develop my voice, and one of my biggest insecurities became one of my biggest sort of sources of happiness. I have been involved in elocution, declamation competition, debates all my life, which transitioned into hosting. I have hosted about 100+ quizzes for the social chain of restaurants, and along with that, I'm very passionate about social work as well, and have contributed with various organizations throughout my years.
This aspect about organizing events in different restaurants, how did you go about deciding to do this activity? What prompted you to do something like this?
So one of the resource people from social actually saw one of my hosting performances at my college. It was about a 500-600 people audience, and he was really taken aback by the audience interactions and so on. So he called me to host trivia nights and quizzes at various social branches all across Mumbai. It began as 1 or 2 quizzes, but the response in the community was so good, and people were coming year on year, rather week on week, that this sort of went on for 2 years. And it became financially rewarding for me as well. But more than that, it was a great highlight of the week.
Do you believe, since you're into public speaking, do you believe that actions or words, which of them speak louder?
So in context of just public speaking, it's definitely words. But I think in context of the larger life, I think we are sort of bombarded with so many words now that I think what people do and the actions that they have perform much better in context of everything other than just hosting and public speaking.
What makes a leader better? Better actions or better words?
Definitely better actions. I think actions and sort of leading by example is irreplaceable.
So is public speaking therefore important for them, or doing the actions is more important for them?
So I think public speaking, what it sort of develops is communication. I think communication is a very vital aspect, and that sort of transitions more towards action than just, being a boisterous speaker and a loud speaker. I think the communication aspect, the interpersonal relations that you're able to develop, the empathy that you're able to develop, and what people sort of gravitate towards, I think is more important than just public speaking.
And how have you leveraged your command, your communication abilities in your workplace where you're working right now?
The biggest factor has been in negotiations. Coming from a family office and having worked in sales as well for nearly 2 years, I've interacted with 500, 600 customers who have converted, and something that I've noticed is A customer, it's very interesting insight is that a customer doesn't really have an inherent value for something like an interior decor item. They just want to get the best value and the best discounts and the best deal that they can. That's something that I've been able to sort of judge because of my communication experience.
Your designation in the company is that of a strategic program manager. Yes. What exactly is this role in the organization? What is your core function?
Because we are a very small scale enterprise, there isn't a core function as such. It's a lot of breadth. I've done everything from sales to inventory management to setting up new verticals, our website, our social media presence, and so on. So it's different programs that you sort of inculcated from 0 to 1.
So is it fair to assume then that you are someone who's a jack of all trades but a master of none?
So the entire phrase is jack of all trades but master of none is still better than a master of one. Right? So I think that's the sort of principle that I'm applying here. And one of the primary reasons why I want to pursue an MBA is because of my background. I've developed a lot of breadth across industries, but what I currently lack is the depth. So, I know a little bit about marketing, but I won't have a lot of marketing depth. I know a little bit about operations, but I don't have that depth. And that's one of my biggest sort of incentives to pursue an MBA, to develop that depth.
So this designation, how many, first of all, people are there in the business?
Sir, at our store, there are about 17, and we have more at our factories and our manufacturing units.
So these are full-time employees?
A mix of both, sir. A few full-time employees, few part-times, few on contractual basis. And then we work with a lot of agencies for stuff that we don't have a lot of experience in ourselves.
Okay. So this designation you have given to yourself, strategic program manager?
It's a designation that my family gave to me. There isn't a particular designation that fits really because of that breadth of roles. So it's a designation that sort of seemed to make sense.
See, what I can see from your profile is you could have gone to any particular company, right? I mean, not necessarily for your family business. So why did you decide to work at a family business instead of going to, say, any MNC or maybe working in business analytics roles?
Right. And so my undergrad college actually had a lot of opportunities for me to take up MNCs. But I've seen the value and the impact entrepreneurship creates in local communities all my life. Right? My parents have been businessmen for as long as I can remember. And so entrepreneurship has always been my end goal and my long-term goal. So family business seemed to be the necessary step towards it. And I was involved in it before I even thought of doing an MBA. Because, the kind of learning curve, steep learning curve that you have, the stakeholder management you learn, and real impact. I feel the impact all the way home. If sales go through, if sales don't go through, if you lose clients, that kind of real impact, I think, was invaluable at my age.
If you're saying that your family has had a lot of business background individuals already in it,
Right, sir.
It naturally obviously makes sense for you to continue something like that. I get that. But have they also done an MBA like you wish to do right now?
No, sir.
Both my parents are BCom graduates. They've learned everything on the job.
Then even you can, right?
I could. And that's that opportunity cost. I definitely could continue my family business. The amount of resources and opportunities that they have given me is immeasurable. But there are a lot of skill gaps that I have currently. I could learn on the job, but that would take maybe 5 years, 10 years to learn. And I would learn at the cost of doing mistakes. But an MBA is sort of, among many other things like peer group, cohort, the signaling that it gives you, more than anything else, also it's a sandbox for me to experiment different things, try out different pedagogies, get the cross-industry knowledge. Right now, I have a great tunnel vision of just this one industry and I understand this well. But to develop that, I think will be very difficult with just my skill set.
You mentioned that you did data analysis as part of your role.
Right.
So can you tell me what variables were you looking at? What problem were you trying to solve?
I'll give you one example that sort of had the most business impact. Until now, most of our pricing was done ad hoc, right? My father would usually see the product, guess the dimensions and price the product accordingly. Then once I created the inventory system and once we had the data of all of our products, which are around 2,000, 2,200 now, I was able to do the most basic linear regression because of my statistical background and come with an ad hoc formula, come with a non-ad hoc formula, like a real model that could estimate the prices of the products with a 93% accuracy almost immediately, right? And then something else that we noticed was when we added the different dimensions, the length, breadth, height, that accuracy went to 95%, right? But there's a trade-off for that. Most of our staff doesn't come with a lot of education, right? They don't know what a parallax error is for mistakes. So there's a lot of mistakes that they make while measuring the length and breadth of objects. But weight is something that there's not a lot of error with. So then we were able to sort of give up that extra 2% accuracy. And with that 93% accuracy, we could guesstimate the weights and then eventually the prices of all of our products to a much more uniform level.
So coming to Sir's question, it's still not clear what was the dependent variable and what were the independent variables. What was the linear regression between?
The independent variables were the length, breadth, height, and weight. Eventually, we got rid of the length, breadth, height because of the operational difficulty, and the dependent variable was the price.
So price versus weight was the linear regression that you did. What was the coefficient of linear regression that you got in your analysis?
The R or the R score?
Both.
The R was, I think, around 0.95 or 96.
Over a period of how long?
And so this is it's not a forecasting, it's like an inventory that we had. So I already had around 2,000 products when I ran this linear regression. Now that's increased to about 2,200, and it's similar even now.
Okay, what's the difference between R square and adjusted R square?
I think adjusted R square accounts for the degrees of freedom as well, but I'm not particularly sure about the entire depth of it.
Did you perform the linear regression manually, or did you use a tool like SPSS or a software?
I used Excel, sir.
Just Excel.
Just Excel.
Can you tell me what are some of the types of penalties that are given when it comes to, say, calculating adjusted R square?
I am not fully sure about adjusted R square, sir.
Okay, have you done AIC, BIC, all of those things in your curriculum?
What, sir?
AIC, BIC,
No.
𝐸𝐴𝐶 information criterion and so on.
No, I've not come across those terms before.
Okay. Can you tell me why do we use, so you have variance
Yes, sir.
and you have standard deviation.
Right, sir.
What is the difference between them and why do we use one over the other?
Variance is essentially standard deviation square. To put it simply, standard deviation and variance, it depends on what your use case is. They are calculated similarly, and for some calculations you require a standard deviation, and for some calculations you require a variance.
Can you explain further?
Say if you are doing, say, a 3 sigma, right? The sigma here is the standard deviation that you are calculating for, and it's not variance. If you're trying to guess, if you're trying to sort of get operational equilibrium and ensure that there are less than 4 errors per million, then you're using sigma instead of variance. But there are various formulae, like if you're calculating moments, then often you're using variance and not sigma.
So why do we have SD? If variance and standard deviation both are measures of dispersion, right?
Right.
So why do you have standard deviation?
I'm not fully sure about that, sir.
Are you aware of curse of dimensionality?
No.
Okay. Because in your model that you mentioned, right? Firstly, you had very limited variables. Now, what if you keep adding more variables? What will happen?
So 2000 is a very large sample size for the kind of analysis that we have to do.
No, forget sample size. I'm saying variables. You mentioned length, breadth, height, and weight.
Yeah.
Right? What if you add more variables? What will happen to your model's R square, let's say?
It will probably increase by a bit, but then the coefficient will, it's not worth the trade-off of the manual adding of all of the different, we could add the color, we could add the material, and all of that. And we did try all of that. When I input any product into our inventory system, there are about 14 or 15 different attributes of that. But these were the 3 that added more. So they won't take away, because then the model by itself will give a very less weightage to the things that are irrelevant to the pricing.
Are you sure about that? Because don't you think that you are losing out on some vital information among the independent variables by missing out on some categorical variables like color, like other parameters that you mentioned? Because you can easily perform factor analysis, combine the different independent variables together and still arrive at a decent regression. So aren't you missing out on crucial independent variables as a result of neglecting those variables?
So I didn't neglect anything. I included all of the different variables on it, and then eventually we realized that because of the operational thing of someone who's not very educated, for them to input all of these things and then to estimate the price is much more operationally heavy.
Uneducated layman, an uneducated worker can put a input as color. I don't think that's a problem.
No, sir, but when you're putting it into Excel, if you're typing 𝐶OLOUR versus 𝐶OLOR, and patina, there are 3-4 different spellings and all of that.
What is collinearity?
I'm not fully sure, sir.
No problem. You mentioned trivia nights that you hosted. Tell us a trivia. Anything that you have found very interesting.
So the famous Greek philosopher Socrates was actually known to be one of the most unhygienic people ever. And and Socrates, the Socratic method annoyed people so much that people say that he was put on trial for being unhygienic and smelly, and the people of Athens really despised him for that. And then eventually he was killed for sort of troubling and being a public nuisance, which I thought is very ironic given the amount of, the amount of depth of information that he's given us.
So now, once you start your MBA program, what will happen to your business?
So we are already working with a few people who are going to replace me. I began that about 3 months ago only, who will take up different responsibilities.
From your family or outside?
No, outside the family, sir.
What are their qualifications?
Varied. Some have just graduated. Some are, some have been in the industry for 7, 8 years, 10 years even. So it's varied for different roles. Like we have a separate person who's going to take up marketing, separate person who's going to take up inventory.
Your family will still hold leadership and command over the company, or will it be a sale?
No. My family is still going to continue with it.
I've seen in your profile, there are a lot of things that are mentioned. So if you have to pick any one activity, because I can see you've done social work, you have done trivia nights and all of that. If you have to pick any one activity and say, okay, this is what you are the most passionate about, which activity would you be?
I for sure would say public speaking, but I've spoken a lot about that already. So after public speaking, maybe social work. I've been involved with different organizations through my school, then my college, then post-college. So probably that as well.
Okay. Do you see any downside of doing too many things in life?
There are definitely trade-offs, sir. I think, but at my age, when we are still sort of figuring out what we are good at and what are sort of niches, then I think doing as much as you can without sacrificing the other things is definitely a worthwhile investment.
You want to specialize in what domain in your MBA?
Sir, strategy mostly, but looking at general MBA for the most part. There's not a domain that I've preferred as of yet. There's something I want to develop.
Do you have any plans of starting up in the future? Given your background in working in a family business, now you will be equipped with an MBA in the future.
Yes, sir, for sure. For sure.
So what's the timeline that we are looking at?
So my plan as of now is, and it's been something I've thought about for a year or so now, since my entire CAT prep, is that once I do my MBA, I intend on taking up industry projects during my tenure after the first few months and settling down into MBA. And then through that, figuring out what kind of a niche that I want to develop into. But before that, I want to work in management consulting for 2 or 3 years or in a founder's office role. One of them, both to understand how larger scale organizations work, how different industries operate, how macro and micro factors affect the industries, and to get that structured approach, which I don't have right now.
What do you do in your free time? Don't tell me you do all of this. What do you do to relax?
So I was about 104 kgs a few years ago, and I have transitioned to about less than 86 right now. So that's been the sort of the free time use of the past couple of years, is getting into fitness, getting into healthier eating, and so on.
What do you know about the food farmer?
I mean, he's incredible. His thought process is so simple, right, that it's reached such a mass audience. It's as simple as just turn the product around and read the label.
But now he's opened a brand for himself. So don't you think he's monetized and used it as an opportunity for his own reasons?
Yes, absolutely. And that's great. There's no harm in it. It's a win-win for everybody. He has that trust with the public that, you've seen this face over and over again. His products are clean. It's been verified by multiple labs and multiple sort of independent resources that whatever he does is clean. His way of putting out content, he does this thing where every month he openly discloses how much he's earned, what his profits are, where the margins are, and all of that. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. And if he makes money off of it, that's more motivation for him to launch more products in the future and all of that. So I see nothing wrong with that.
What is your biggest learning from your own fitness journey?
I think it's perseverance and the ability to appreciate slow progress more than anything. And that's been that also sort of helped me during CAT prep as well, because you don't see results immediately. You see them over weeks and months. So it's been, just keeping our head down, keeping at it, and then seeing results in hindsight.
Okay. What do you consider as an area of improvement for yourself?
There are two primarily, sir, that I have thought about. One is that because of my background, I don't have a structured thinking system yet. Most of the decisions that I have made have been sort of instinct driven, even when I've had most time to think about it. This feels right more than, having a framework for it. And second is that I've struggled with delegation in the past. I've sort of taken on more responsibilities myself than, having that framework to give it out to more people. But this is something that I'm actively working on, defining clear job responsibilities, clear roles, and then having that purview and giving out work accordingly.
A statistician from one of the top colleges in India is saying somebody who should have a lot of data-driven thought process is saying structured thinking is an area of improvement.
Not in terms when I have data, but when it comes to, say, hiring somebody, or when it comes to, negotiating with customers, that's where it's been more instinct-driven.
Both those examples do have supporting data with you. You'll have data of the candidates in front of you. You'll have data of the inventory and the other materials that you have.
So when I'll take up both things. First, when it comes to hiring people, the data is not a lot because I don't have a lot of data of people that we've hired before and who's performed well and who's not. We've hired hardly any people till now. So that has been instinct driven. But data is not the thing that I'm struggling with. It's more frameworks. How you evaluate people, having like a scoring system for evaluating people, and for customers as well, deciding that this type of customer usually haggles up to this much, or is willing to pay more, or is looking for value additions, and so on. So it's not data structures that I'm struggling with, it's more decision frameworks that I've struggled with.
If we put you in a situation where you have the right frameworks, right, but you are surrounded by unstructured data, which is real life,
right,
you're saying you'll be able to manage it?
Yeah, I think so, sir. I'm developing that. That's one of the reasons why I want to do MBA as well, as I said, is to develop that structured thinking.
What is the meaning of Meraki?
Meraki is a Japanese word which means the beauty of art.
My final question is around statistics again, because I too love statistics. Do you think that the world actually follows the normal distribution?
In large enough sample sets, definitely they do.
What's a large enough sample size?
Usually you consider any sample size above 30 to be statistically significant.
And for sample sizes below 30, what do we do?
Then we have different distributions that we have for it. We have Poisson, exponential, that sort of, say you have, you're conducting an interview. How many people are coming every hour?
Give me a real life example of Bernoulli's distribution.
Tossing a coin.
Okay, and a real life example of exponential distribution?
Exponential distribution is sort of the other end of Poisson distribution, right? So exponential distribution can be the other. So I mentioned how many people are coming into the interview. Exponential would follow how long people are staying for the interview. That would follow an exponential distribution.
That's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
So, Laksh, your interview is done. How was it according to you?
I think I answered the HR questions well, but statistics questions, I think I definitely need to work on. There are a lot of concepts like collinearity that I've heard of, but I just couldn't recall during the moment.
So, see, your introduction, firstly, overall, the interview was fine. Okay, so if this happens in a B school interview, mostly you will convert, right? But of course, there's a lot of room to improve. Firstly, when you started your introduction, you gave a very long list of things that you have done. So you may want to make that answer a little bit concise. Pick out the points that you want to speak about, right? And you don't have to give everything.
Right.
See, the idea is to give enough, but not everything.
Right.
What I mean by that is we should have something to pick that from that information. For example, you mentioned public speaking, right? So there was a discussion on it. Then you mentioned something about whatever your extracurricular activities. So we discussed that. But there were a lot of details which were not required. For example, coming from Rajasthan, then that got you into public speaking and all of that. So additional information that you have given, some of it can be trimmed a little bit. Then I think they will ask you about action words, all of that. So I think it was okay, going fine. On your business, right? See, you will have to be very concrete and say what exactly you did. Because see, the family business overall in all interviews, right, is a very tricky position to be.
Yes, sir.
Because the panel knows that it's the easiest thing that you could have done. That's why I said the strategic program manager designation, have you yourself given that designation to you, right? Because you could have called yourself whatever, something else, head of founder's office, for example. So, what you have done, I think you have done significant things, which is what you have written on the application. But then somewhere understand that they can counter it and say you could have nicely got into some other company. You mentioned that, okay, there's entrepreneurship, we have had impact and all of that, and I wanted to experience that before MBA, which is fine, right? I'm not saying no, but that answer has to be a little better. Currently, you're trying to tell a story, but that story needs to be enhanced with some elements, right? That what problems you identify. For example, you've seen your parents growing up, right? And you have seen them do this business for a very long period, but the business is not scaling up.
Right.
And then you realize that there is a need to scale up that data using data. Right? So how do you scale up the business using data is you do a lot of analysis, right? You identify the problems. So you sat with your father, who is father, mother, they are founders, right? You sat with them. You understood what are the problems of the business. And now using your understanding of stats, data, etc., you solved XYZ problem or your business sense, whatever you want to call it. That is the interesting problems that you wanted to solve, and that is why you got into this business, correct? Because see, otherwise they could have hired somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And you would have gone to some other business. So figure out why you decided to firstly do this. Your statistics is shaky.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
It's been 3 years, so I need to revise.
how do you do
That's
regression?
not a
Good excuse, yes.
Absolutely not a reason.
How do you do regression with one variable? I mean, what's the point of it?
2 variables.
Which two variables? One dependent, one independent.
So that's one variable.
So, what is the point of that regression? Correct. And then I asked you about a lot of things, right? So, penalty, adjusted R square, AIC, BIC. Why do we have standard deviation when you have variance? Collinearity, curves of dimensionality. I don't think you have. I mean, you have touched statistics after 23. I don't know whether you've done it or not.
Yes, sir.
So, it's very rusty. Okay. And you're using terms without understanding the implication of that. If you say Poisson distribution, exponential distribution, they might ask you to actually write the formula of that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So don't use the terms that you're not sure of. Okay. Towards the end, he asked you about normal distribution, right? And whatever. So you said statistically significant sample size is 30. 30 is not large enough, but
Right.
30 might be significant to, let's
Perform
say,
the test.
perform a test and say, okay, fine, the inferences are valid at maybe 95% confidence level. Right? So that is why I think just be careful of whatever you are saying. It might be a problem if you use terms and you're not able to explain it further.
A significantly good refresher on statistical concepts is required.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely. And see, trivia and all is fine. I think that's one very good point. I haven't seen a lot of people having. It's a very unique point about you that you have hosted trivia nights for social, and it's an interesting aspect. So definitely worth mentioning somewhere. Then we got into discussion on. I asked you, okay, if you continue, if you do your MBA, then what will happen to the business? And you said, okay, fine, somebody will come and replace me and all of that. See, what I want you to think of is, what is your role going to be in this business in the future? Is it going to be that of a consultant? Are you going to be on paper, let's say, a director in this company? Or you're done with what you were supposed to do? That your role was only this.
Right.
That come in, solve these problems, implement systems, and now you're out because the systems will continue. Correct? So figure that out. That clarity was missing. Then you spoke about your fitness journey. I think again that's a very good thing to talk about, right? Shows some discipline, etc. There was a discussion on food farmer. Then we spoke. Then you, for some reason, you brought in cat prep. I don't see the requirement of that.
Okay.
Because again, see, whatever you say, there is going to be a line of questioning. I mean, somebody could have got into, was this your first attempt of CAT? Unnecessary discussion, correct? Then you said structured thinking is a problem. Then I said, you're a statistician. You have data. Then you said, no, hiring decision. Then he countered that. Then you said, no, it is hiring people, so instinct and all of that. So just be careful. See, what is happening is you are coming up with responses very quickly on the fly, but maybe you're not thinking it through. And it might lead to a line of questioning that you don't want. Right? So you have to preempt these questions. Most of it was fine. I'm not saying it was a bad interview, but I'm saying you can do much better. Considering all these things that you have, I mean, student of the year at St. Xavier's, right? That's a massive achievement. So what happens is when you walk into an interview with this profile, right? The expectation is set at the higher level, and now you can either live up to that expectation or you can underperform. So it's up to you what you want to do with it. Honestly, your statistics was the only one where I would say that if I have to identify a reason why I should not select you, I would have chosen the statistical depth.
Right.
For somebody who has got a high CGPA in stats and has written, okay, I've done some data analysis, right? So yeah, that's my feedback. We'll see if there's anything that I want to add once the group is done.
When you gave your introduction, your initial presence comes out to be pretty strong. You have a commanding presence. And when you spoke about your public speaking training and activities that you participated in, it was evident to me that this is where it is coming from, that command that you are having. But having said that, overall, during the entire conversation, I felt that Prasad sir and I were speaking at a very calm and poised pitch, whereas you were talking, it would appear at a pitch that was showing overexcitement and maybe on the borderline of nervousness that you were countering with that high audible sound that was coming from when you were delivering your answers. Okay, so I felt that will be noticeable to someone like a learned professor at a B school panel who will be speaking in a very calm and composed manner and may not expect the person on the other side to be speaking as if a public speaking event is being delivered.
Understood.
Right? Like how you said understood is how you need to talk in the interview, not understood. Yes. Understood.
So I think match the vibe of the room a little bit.
And there is no reason to actually go into a public speaking mode.
Right.
There is a public speaking mode and there's the command over the voice.
Right.
The sonority of your voice is good, but there's no reason to go into that overexcitement mode. That is a thing I noticed, and I kept noticing that during the whole conversation. I agree with Prasad sir. Your introduction, your tell me about yourself was quite long and it was all over the place. It was about your schooling to begin with, then with your work experience, then with your public speaking ability. I actually had to cut you short and ask you about which is more important, actions or words, because I built up on the public speaking thing. Is the public speaking thing the hook that you want to leave behind in front of a B school panel? Not too sure. Maybe the work experience that you've done, linking it to why MBA is a better route to take in terms of leaving behind as a hook. You brought in the why MBA answer within some of the answers you were saying, so we didn't have to question you on why MBA specifically.
Of all trades.
That one, yeah. I like the fact that you expanded on the phrase and you said master of one. But later on in the conversation, you mentioned this phrase, there is a downside of doing too many things. Sir asked you whether all these things that you've done, there is a downside to it or not. And you said to initial part of the career or initial early days, it's okay to try out a lot of things and then go. I felt there was a little bit of contradiction, natural contradiction that came to the initial thing that you said about, okay, it's okay to be a master of all, as long as you're more than a master of one, right? In terms of why MBA, your answer specifically focused on that you need depth, which was good. I like the depth angle that you gave to the why MBA answer. Your role of strategic program manager, I specifically asked you what the role is. At the end of this interview conversation, I still am not aware what exactly your core role is. It could be that you're doing all the different things related to this, but is your core role mainly on inventory management? Is it sales analysis? Is it pricing strategy? These kind of terminologies you have to use. Speaking of terminologies, you gave a lot of jargons in the entire conversation, and jargons like sandbox and tunnel vision. It's good to give some jargons, but I felt it was a little excessive during the entire conversation. I felt it was rehearsed and not coming naturally, the usage of these jargons.
What I've also written is smile less.
Okay.
Because again, I think it's coming from that public speaking persona that you end up smiling slightly more, even when it is not required. So maybe you'll have to control that a little bit. I'm not saying don't smile. You can smile, but it should come naturally only when it is required.
Understood.
When you spoke about your analysis, the data analysis that you had done, it was expected that you would have related all the concepts of statistics with respect to linear or logistic regression, because if you would have taken color and other categorical variables, you would have to talk about logistic regression as well. I would say that when you answered the question about the trivia, you gave a good example. I didn't expect you to give an example like Socrates, but I don't think that you should have ended with the negative connotation about he was killed. I mean, you can avoid making such statements, making some usage of some words like killed. When sir asked you about your fitness, like when you shared about your fitness journey, again, the example was good, but the relatability of it with the CAT prep was not required. You could have related the discipline and the learnings that you've had from the fitness journey, which is the question I asked you, with other aspects of your life. Your knowledge about, I specifically asked you questions around distributions, different statistical distributions, not satisfactory at all. I asked you a question about normal distribution in real world. You went to statistical tests and limited the sample size to above 30 or more than or less than 30. So the coherence was not there with respect to the answer that I expected out of you. In your area of improvement, you mentioned that two things. You mentioned you want to get over instinct-based thinking and come to a more structured thinking. That is a good thing to say. However, you could have framed it better. You could have said that in today's day and age, in fact, I want to advise you this, that like sir was saying, you actually can craft a wonderful story of your profile. Let me walk you through the story. You are a person who comes from a family business. You have entered the family business. You are seeing everything around you is happening A, with unstructured processes, and B, with the unstructured data. So you have been able to solve some of those problems by getting into it. Your statistical background in terms of your undergrad discipline has helped you understand and use some of the statistical concepts to solve some of these problems in your business. However, given your experience in the business, the story that you can craft is that you are limited with the business sense of what that data implications are, and therefore to get a better business sense and how to better utilize those statistical concepts, not just in theory but in real world, is how you want to craft the story and lead up to an MBA. Then you can say that within the MBA or from the MBA, I'm looking for depth of knowledge of processes, systems, frameworks, the frameworks thing that you mentioned, from the different case studies and everything that I learn, the peer group learning that I get. And then you can talk about your short-term and long-term goals. That will complete your why MBA answer and complete the entire story from start to finish. This is the story that I would perfectly see for a candidate like you. As sir mentioned, your profile on paper is extremely strong. Your performance was not at that level. My feedback to you is go back to your statistical concepts. If you feel that you don't want to talk about too many statistical concepts and you are not comfortable with it, it's been more than 2 years since you've graduated, you may think that you may not want to highlight that. That would be a risk. But if you still want to do that, then focus on other elements of your work experience. For example, CRM handling, for example, people management, for example, digitization of core business operations. Take it to other areas and don't necessarily have to speak about the historical data analysis and those areas specifically. That's it from my side in terms of feedback.
And in any case, you have to revise stats because most B school, firstly, all of them are going to be PhDs.
Right.
So they have done enough stats. Whether they are from statistics area or not doesn't matter. They know stats. So they're going to question, right? So just be prepared for that. Overall, see, if you maintain slight, I mean, your energy is not matching with room's energy right now.
Yes, sir.
That's how, at least I sensed it. If you tone it down a little bit, keep it flat, still energetic, you will have a better presence. And of course, you have done enough public speaking to understand that, how to adjust your energy level.
Yes.
So do that. Your profile, as Devrup also mentioned, it's solid on paper, right? I mean, any B school would be like, this is a very good profile. But you have to perform. You have to deliver. Okay? So all the best. I hope you take the feedback in positive way and implement and move forward from here.
Yes.
All the best.
All the best.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.